Morning, Ralph. Morning, Sam.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Morning Sam, Morning Ralph. We are clocking in today with a really neat firm that does e-learning. And wait, e-learning, you say? Yes, e-learning. Did you know, Chad, did you know this? That about the restaurant industry has about a 70% turnover rate?
I didn't know it was that high, Paul. I knew it was bad though.
Oh, it's crazy.
That's crazy.
You can
Is
look
it getting worse or better?
I'm not sure. Does anything ever really get better? But there are now e-learning companies out there that have become synonymous with training now in this space. And we've got a guest today, Michael Getz and Jason Kramer of Illumina Interactive.
You guys, I'm excited to talk to them.
Yeah, these are good guys. I've known Michael for a really long time. As a matter of fact, I worked with his brother, almost about 20 years ago. Very successful family, these Getzes, I'll tell you. Michael and Jason, it's awesome to have you guys here with us. Michael is the president and founder of Illumina Interactive Learning, and Jason Kramer is the director of e-learning development at Illumina. Illumina is a custom e-learning design studio based just outside of Boston, like Chad and I, but they work with staff around the country, and they work in a wide range of industries. As I mentioned, the restaurant and hospitality space being a main one of theirs. And inside of that industry, they've been working with large franchisors and restaurant tech companies. So welcome, guys. So glad to have you.
Yeah,
thanks
great
for
to
having
be here.
us. Good to be here, Dad.
We talk to a lot of earlier stage companies, startups, just ones that aren't the entrenched incumbents of our industry. But you guys have quite a long run rate yourself here. Can you tell us a little bit about your 25 years in the business and your mission at Illumina?
Yeah, so I'll start. And again, thanks for having us, guys. I have a background in film and video and animation. And in the mid 1980s, the first computer was just taking off. And I started doing educational software on Apple II computers. That's probably for your guys' time. And then ultimately shipped it over to corporate training development. And when I founded Illumina, which is back in 97, the internet was just taking off. And so we started doing web design and development and kind of straddled both web design and training development. And actually that's where I met Paul the first time. It was doing web design for a company that he would have. And because we were in Boston, most of our clients were in the healthcare or life science industries. And we were working for hospitals and pharmaceutical companies and biotech and everything. And then we started branching out to government and financial services and manufacturing and other industries. We train on a wide range of topics and develop e-learning and other training materials and training resources like videos and animations and user guides, manuals and things like that. And we do training on health and safety and sales skills and end user software systems and procedures and diversity and equity and inclusion and things like that. So I think us a big part of our focus, everybody is familiar with really bad e-learning. You've probably had to take in training programs that were like page turners and they were really boring and it was dread. But I think because of my background and because of the backgrounds of most of our team who have really creative backgrounds, what really differentiates us most is that we're all about creating compelling and impactful interactive learning that engages learners through storytelling and real life scenarios and interactivities that are more than just turning the page and reading and answering a question. And I think that really lends itself to the audiences that we have in this industry who are typically a lot younger and are used to more rich media materials and, animation and video and things like that. And also to the kind of interactive things that we need to create to give somebody training in the restaurant industry. And I think that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I love that because interactive training, and that's built right inside of your name, right? So it's something that the training is something that you engage with. And it's not just reading, like you said, and clicking the box and turning. It has to be a story. Jason, can you tell us a little bit more about how you work with your clients to create these stories that are compelling?
Yeah, absolutely. So
the first thing, we're always working to develop a sort of partnership with our clients, right? And not just a sort of a short order cook approach, right?
Right.
And the reason for that is because in developing this sort of partnership, we can ensure that we are both working on the same vision and working towards the same goal to bring the sort of value to the employees that are trying to learn something to make themselves better. And so as part of that is bringing on the right sort of people, both on our side and their side, the client side of the table, and then working at understanding the sort of users we're going to have for this particular training, right?
In restaurants, for example, typically, certainly staff kind of runs the entire spectrum, but when you're working with a brand, they're informing you what the average age might be, kind of creating a persona, if you will, and then you designing a program around that kind of persona.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And it's absolutely key in finding what we need to design and who we're designing for. And that's the only way I think we're going to find exactly where the value is for the client.
So how do you help your customers and your partners think about this? Their workforce is going to be multi-generational to some degree. And what's compelling and effective for their younger staff may not be for their older staff. How do you help them strike the right balance with the approach, or is there a dual approach or a triangulated approach for multiple target demographics? How do you do that?
Right. This is something that we, as you well know, I'm sure the workforce, especially in the restaurant industry, as we're talking about, skews younger. And so looking at what sort of a younger learner is looking for. So looking for shorter, fresh design, interactive, gamified, right?
Right.
Those sorts of elements. Like if we look at, so where a lot of younger folks learning a lot of the material, TikTok, YouTube, these sorts of things. And it's shorter, tighter focus. And so bringing those elements into the training, right, is absolutely key in teaching this sort of, in the younger skewed workforce.
You can describe that as being key drivers, frankly, for the e-learning movement is very much wrapped into that Gen Z experience that you just outlined, Jason, right? Michael.
Well, absolutely. I think it's interesting that that may be a kind of driver for it. But what we find is that people of all ages, multi-generational workforce, right, where are most people going to learn how to do something? They're going to YouTube usually. If they want to build a shelf or something, they'll go to YouTube. And I turned 53 today. And
congratulations. Happy birthday.
Thank you. That's where I'll go to. Usually the first thing, right? Not necessarily the manual. And we all now play games on our phones. We're used to that sort of gamification element, right?
Yes.
So it's not so just oriented towards the younger folks. So taking those elements, creating that sort of compelling, interactive, visually interesting experience is
an experience that they're familiar with.
Ultimately. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, e-learning has been around for a long time, and I think it does cross generations. There's certainly a lot of important benefits that we've seen over the last years with creating self-paced interactive learning. It's always been seen as really something that can go hand in hand with traditional forms of training, whether that's classroom or virtual classroom or mentoring or shadowing or all other kinds of training, especially in this industry. But there's certainly the benefits are the ability to scale up to train a very large workforce in a short amount of time, to have training that's high quality and uniform, where you're not relying as much on just individual trainers,
and how they're going to be presenting the material. But some of the other benefits are tracking and record keeping. And then another big thing, which is going to be impacted even more as we move into more availability of greater AI tools, are things like adapting training to the learner's needs. So that can also be another way to impact and address the differences in learners, whether it's the particular role or their job responsibilities or their needs or whatever kind of comes up as they're going through training. Is really recognizing what they they haven't mastered and what they need. And we're starting to see more tools with those kind of capabilities.
Michael, real quick. So you talk about impact, and I know one of the very first lenses that operators will look at when they're evaluating impact is the financial impact, ROI. How do you communicate to them how they could gauge the ROI of working with you and deploying a successful, impactful
And
program?
there have always been standard methods for looking at ROI in different training modalities and things. There's certainly what are the costs to either send people to training or have them go to webinar training, and to have trainers available versus the ability to have a packaged training materials that's available day one that can be made available to new hires the moment they start. So there's those kind of ROI metrics. And then there are a whole lot of others in terms of tracking and record keeping and validation and certification and stuff like that in an industry.
Yeah, it's one of the things, and you touched on this a little bit, Michael, and before was, you alluded to it, and that was consistency. As we all know, restaurant brands, they live and die on consistency. You're trying to provide the same great experience across every location. And obviously, when you have a unified or a uniform training regimen, that's something that you can train for, where this is the way we do things. But I'm curious, what kinds of trainings do we see? When you're talking about e-learning and restaurant trainings, are you talking about like how to make a latte or how to cook a steak? What are we talking about here in terms of electronic learning?
Yeah, we'll take just for example, recently, even now, working on it, point of sale training. So we're in QSR environments, right? This is where the interface is with the client, and this is the money making station, and making sure you can train the workforce up quickly and efficiently, especially when, for example, there are changes in software that may be happening.
Yeah, well, it can be because of new products or new pricing or new methods of serving or whatever. But there's often changes like that. We see.
So are you saying that
year.
It's not just we have a new menu item or we have a new process that you have to learn inside the restaurant? You're also providing e-learning for suppliers, or rather on behalf of suppliers. They have a new software update. They have some new feature set. They want to make sure that their customers understand what this new feature does and how it works. And you're helping them put together a module, let's call it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And in fact, I think you find that e-learning is especially useful for these sorts of situations because we can create it rapidly, and we can create a sort of practically a simulated environment so that you can do software systems training for what's coming up. You can actually be training on that in a nearly simulated approach, and you can do it much more rapidly, and as opposed to having to wait until let's say it's a software update is rolled out to 20,000 locations or whatever, right? You can have a rapidly done, pretty darn realistic piece of e-learning that your employees can be going through leading up to the update. And so that they're much more ready for the change. We all know change is hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're talking specifically about rollouts, right?
And it's safe also because they're working in an environment where they're not worried about being on the job and learning through mistakes.
Which is really an extremely important element, I think, the being able to make mistakes in a safe environment. when the customers aren't on top of you.
But
You were talking about retention.
You can also teach them on, you can train them on products and even upselling techniques, all sorts of things like that, in addition to for the front office staff. And then there's all sorts of things like food safety and sanitation and cleaning and other kind of things for the kitchen staff. And then certainly for managers, there's a wide range of areas there, even staff and performance management and efficiency and operations and everything like that. So there's a wide range of things besides POS training and stuff like that.
Mm. So it'd probably be more of a question for you, Michael, but Jason as well. We're firmly in this era where there's a lot of tech-driven change in our industry. So POS has been around, but now there's all kinds of different categories of technology that didn't exist before, and more brands are realizing that's how we're going to not just differentiate ourselves, but survive in the midst of everything. How does e-learning help restaurants navigate tech-driven change in general?
Yeah, I think Jason has hit on a number of things, certainly with software updates and things like that. But then in terms of hardware systems and technology, whether you're using the actual system to train on and training in a concurrent way and giving them help guides or other kind of things just in time. I've been seeing, we haven't yet seen this in the restaurant industry yet, but in another industry we're working on, we've seen real-time virtual AR through a tablet kind of look where you can have a manager looking directly at what you're seeing, and that manager can send you information and feed you just in time information. And certainly with AI, with chatbots and the ability to query in natural language, guides and job aids and things like that, it just means you can have a lot more things available to you.
Right.
How do you anticipate you'll be using those technologies over the next few years?
We're already using a lot of AI tools for content creation, just in terms of they're certainly helping accelerate some of the development work that we're doing. But we have to, the quality has to be validated. It's not putting out anything yet that we're ready to have go directly to the end user. But we are certainly looking at AI chatbots and generative AI, much better language processing and things like that. We've been using it for language translation and for AI text-to-speech, stuff like that for a long time, graphics. And so there's certainly a lot of ways that AI is already moving into e-learning.
Absolutely. And I love what you said earlier, Michael, about the learning style of the participant, right? How do they learn? And will the AI be able to help generate, whether it be a cadence or that, how are you going to be able to maximize the capacity of the learning for the user? Very cool stuff. Before we take a break, I do want to hit one more question about how people are actually engaging with the Illumina's content. Are they doing it? Are you making this stuff so it works on an employee's phone, or is it mostly desktop? Are they doing it at home? Are they doing it at work? Where are they engaging with this?
So, we're developing it for basic phone, tablet, desktop. What we're finding, and it really depends, right? You'll have the franchisee that is still got an Apple IIe in the back, but then you'll have some that have a supercomputer back there.
Right. Yes.
And we're creating for the end user. And we're finding that often there's a desktop at least available.
So most of the time, particularly on the franchisor or franchisee side, the learning is happening on premise.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going through a learning management system. Typically, most of that our clients have a learning management system, and they're delivering it either to a desktop or a laptop or a tablet primarily. What we develop will run on smartphones. In this industry, I can't say that we're seeing as much use of smartphones as in some other industries. I think it's just because I think in some of the environments, they're not allowed to have smartphones.
Yeah, the nature of the business. Yeah.
But they certainly may have tablets at the ready and in the back or something. Quickly.
And even with that, even if it's only on premise, the learner creates an account.
Right.
And therefore there's that tracking. So the manager or the area director or somebody understands this person completed the training. Great. Move on to the next step.
Right.
Great stuff. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, I want to talk a little bit more about, hate to tell you, but where you get to bust a couple of myths for us.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
per usual, Paul, I do have a question before we
You're interrupting my thing now? Oh, okay.
No. I'm going to save my question. It's going to be a small one, but with these guys, I think we need to ask it. But then we do this, hate to tell you.
Fantastic. Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Oh, I'm saying after we get that.
Good.
Oh,
Thanks,
okay.
Dad. All right. We're master communicators here.
Yes.
Let's take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Hey, welcome back, guys, to Morning Sam, Morning Ralph. We're back with Illumina Interactive, Michael and Jason. Chad, tell us, what was that burning question that had on the tip of your lips before we left?
Well, now during the break, I might have picked up another one. But here we go. Let's start with where we started. We talked about that 70% figure you threw out with the turnover rate. So let's tie it back to that, employee engagement, and frankly, any other hot topics in the industry, guys, Michael, Jason, that you think should really be addressed for our audience today in terms of where you have an impact on the brands you serve.
Absolutely. One of the areas I think, for example, e-learning can have a huge impact on is 2 sorts of things. And that is when it comes to onboarding and new hire training. This is an area, of course, every industry, this is a thing. And it needs to be addressed and addressed in the best way. And here, I think we see that leveraging the sort of consistency that e-learning can bring and e-learning training, as well as the sort of compelling, interactive and engaging element that e-learning can bring, can make you feel as the new hire, oh, wow, this is something I want to be a part of. This is exciting. They're on
Engagement.
thing.
It's building some excitement, right? New job, new skills, it's all about, hey, here's a company that's actually helping me grow.
And with really high quality production values too. You're really sending a message that, that the organization has put a lot of effort into this, a lot of production.
That's right. And
Really
you as the sort of head of the company or head of learning for that company, it can be challenging sometimes to say rely on the staff member there that happens to be there that day to teach the new hires. They can be having an off day maybe that day.
That's good stuff. Guys, let's talk a little bit about misconceptions in e-learning. Because e-learning, and Michael, you hit on this way early. We've all taken that ultra boring, let's call it a spade here, fellas. E-learning, it used to really suck.
Thank you. Thanks for saying it.
Still does in many cases. Yeah.
It could be a real drag. So I'm not steering you in any way, but what are some misconceptions? Hate to tell you.
I would say one thing is that experts don't always make good trainers and don't make good e-learning designers. So people with the knowledge aren't always great at imparting that knowledge to everybody else. And so sometimes what we really do is we have instructional designers and creative designers that get at that information, hone it down to what's really the important stuff that we need to train so that these people will master what they need to master. And then we do try to do it in as engaging and creative a way as possible so that we're not creating a boring lecture-like thing.
Right. Then you have the substance and then the packaging, right? How it's packaged and delivered.
Yeah, absolutely.
Michael, you're a musician, right?
Yeah.
Well, Jason, I think you're a student of music.
Jason's a guitar player.
Yep.
Clearly a bibliophile.
Yes. Yeah. I was just about to say, I have no problem with lectures. I have a philosophy degree, and that's why I love to read and collect books, and this is just some of them. But
your guys' like talents or interests that aren't squarely related to e-learning that you think have served you well in creating awesome e-learning content?
I think the video and animation, my background really just helps in trying to create compelling visual things that people will enjoy looking at that are aesthetically pleasing. I think interactivity and making something challenging and thoughtful is really important so that somebody comes away thinking, I had to put some thought into that. If we can ever use video and create a scenario where it puts you in and you have to make decisions for the people in the scenario or something, that makes for really good engaging learning. Certainly things like VR and making things immersive like that. We try to do that in ways. We've done some VR work, not specifically in the restaurant industry, though some of our clients have dabbled in that.
Yeah, this has been awesome. Let's do a quick wrap up with, guys, can you tell us a little bit about how people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can certainly look at our website at www.illumina-interactive.com. We're on LinkedIn at work. You can just look for Illumina. Yeah, all of those ways. But reach out to me or Jason. We have a Facebook page, Illumina Learn, and we're on Twitter or X at Illumina Learn, and so on.
Yeah, this is good. Thank you very much for talking with us today. We consider us to be learners now. We've learned something, and we love the fact that you guys are staying on top of the tech as well. And you're not just helping restaurants, but you're also helping suppliers to tell their story. And that's something that we want to make sure that all of our listeners out there who are predominantly restaurant technology professionals, if you need some help, guys and gals, telling your customers about how your product works, or some of the features that might be a little bit more complex or may have some more nuance, give the guys at Illumina Interactive a shout. They will help you tell your story. They will help you design training to make better users of your products. So, fellas, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Same here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.